Oh, hello, everybody. This is DearMamaSal, and it's Friday, and welcome. Today, we're going to be talking about the plan. So if that is something that you are always confused by, join the rest of us. The reason that I'm saying that is all too often the plan that we plan is not the plan of, of the universe. And I really do want to talk about the fact how important it is to plan, but also, of course, how important it is to be flexible within it. The reason that I'm saying that, for those of you who don't know, is that I am in the middle of selling my house. And when I say in the middle of it, I'm in the process of it. Hi there, Jodi. And what I am finding is that you can plan your week as much as you like, but right in the middle of it, suddenly there will be that telephone call that says, you know, or the email or whatever, that says we want to show the house on Thursday, and suddenly all your plans for Thursday are totally out of whack. And not only that, you also have to think ahead a whole lot more than you would normally. For example, I was at the doctor's yesterday, and I've got a vlog about that one that I'm editing. Jodi, please remind me. I'm editing this vlog about what happened with my doctor's visit. But what happened was, on the way back, I knew I needed a particular blood test done, and I realized that the best possible time to have that blood test done was right now, so that I didn't have to worry about trying to fit it in with other things that could disrupt my plan. You know, it was one more thing on my list of many, many things. And so what I did was I decided to just literally go from my doctor and drive. My doctor is about half an hour away from where I am. And I drove to close to where I live, where I have my blood test done. And I walked in and said, okay, fine, this is what I need. And then they said to me, well, there's, you know, a 40-minute wait. Well, that wasn't in my plan either. But, you know, the truth is, what I kept in my mind was, you don't like waiting, but this is more important. Get this out of the way so you don't have to think about it anymore. And, you know, it really is quite interesting that I just kept in mind the end result. The end result was, once I had the blood test done, I didn't have to worry about it anymore for another 3 months. And so part of what I want to talk about today is that sometimes we need to plan differently from our perfect way. I know I've got some pretty good planners on the DearMamaSal viewership. And, you know, I've also got some pretty good people who are very organized. And therefore, I think in a way, sometimes it's more difficult for the very organized people to make room for things that go out of whack. You know, if you're not organized to start with, you just go, okay, fine, so that's just another thing. But, you know, if you've got your whole day planned, it's really difficult. I was talking yesterday to somebody who told me that they felt that their life, they were about 85% productive in their life in terms of all the different aspects of their life. And I found that interesting. And they said they normally are about 90%, but they're probably about 85% at the moment. And I said, well, you know, that's good that you've got that 15% to play with. And they went, what? And I said, well, you know, if an emergency, another emergency, because they're already dealing with a whole lot of them, you know, if another emergency comes up, you've at least got 15% play left. And I think that is another thing that I would say to everybody is, don't overplan your life. You know, I don't know how you do your life, but I do mine like this. And I know that whatever I write down on here is not necessarily going to get done. But what I've got is a plan to get it done. Not necessarily this week, but it keeps moving forward with me until I do get it done. And if any of you relate to this, let me know. But, you know, it's just like, and sometimes I get 3 or 4 things done in a day that I didn't think that I could possibly do. But, you know, I'm just in that sort of mood. And I know that they've been on that list for a long time, so I just literally buckle down and I do 2 or 3 things. I want to tell a story of something that happened to Jodi this week. For those of you who don't know, Jodi is our admin on the DearMamaSal, and she looks after, keeping notes for us and doing, making sure I send things to people when I say I will and so forth. And so thank you so much, Jodi, for doing that. But something happened to her this week, and I need you to understand, if you don't already, that Jodi is basically pretty immobile. She's either confined to a chair or to a bed. And so if she goes out, hi there, Marie. If she goes out, she needs to be in a wheelchair. She can't walk well. And she can walk a few steps, but not very many. And so she had to go to a pain management appointment this week. Now, pain management appointments are really important for Jodi because she is suffering from a number of things that cause her great pain. So, being able to get to her pain management appointment is very important. So you can imagine she planned it ahead of time. And also, she has it planned out really well because her husband, Lionel, has to come with her. So they've got to plan all of that and get everything organized. And it was interesting because, that takes some time for her to get that all set up and ready to go, more than it would perhaps, somebody who is able to walk around quickly, and the important thing is that she can't, it takes her more time. So she can't hurry as much as other people. So that means she has to leave even more time than a regular person. So with all that said, she found out that she has to get a van, a wheelchair accessible van, rather than a regular cab. Again, that takes more planning than a regular cab. And so she ordered up the van, and it was really strange because she actually texted me and said in the text something about the name of the taxi company. And, something didn't sound right with the name of the taxi company to her. And I went, oh, that's interesting. It's interesting how we judge people by the name of the company. And, but it's true. And I really smiled because I went, yeah, we all do that. It's just like, what sort of company calls themselves this, or whatever it is. And so there she was waiting for the van, and she waited and waited and waited. Now, you understand that for Jodi, waiting is not much fun either. And, if, you got to think about that. She's out in the sun or the rain, depending on what the weather is, for waiting for a cab. And the cab didn't come. And it didn't come. And it didn't come. And I'm not sure how long she waited. Maybe Jodi can add that so that I can give that bit of information. But she waited and waited and waited. And eventually she contacted the cab company and said, where is the van? Is it anywhere close? She waited 25 minutes before she did that text. Thanks, Jodi. And so she texted and said, is the van, can you let me know the location of the van? And they said, well, actually, it broke down. Now, you don't have to be a clairvoyant to get a sense of how Jodi must have felt about that. Her heart dropped, I'm sure. And it was just like, there was a level of frustration. Why didn't you tell me that 25 minutes ago? I could have still been inside, having a nice cup of coffee or something. But, none of that happened. And I'm certain in that moment, Jodi had to do a lot of adjustments about how important this really is, how important it is that you get to adjust in that mindset immediately. And as she was doing that, she was turning around and going back towards her building. And as she was wheeling, she heard something. And it sort of made her aware suddenly that there was a funny noise, and the funny noise was a mewing of a kitten. And so she's looking around trying to work out where this noise is coming from, and she looks up, and there is a kitten that has managed to break through the netting of one of her neighbor's windows and is trying to crawl out of the netting, that will be the next step, obviously. And think about this. Lionel, Jodi's husband, was obviously with her, and Jodi, in that split second, said to Lionel, go and warn those people that the kitten is trying to climb out of the window. And and then the most incredible thing was that, think about this as a plan. If Jodi's van had arrived on time, she would never have seen the kitten. I mean, that's the reality. She would never have seen the kitten. And Lionel was with her, and he was able to run up and go and warn the neighbor. You look at it all and you go, what was the plan? Was it our plan or somebody else's plan that van would not arrive? And because of that, Jodi would be turned around. And when she turned around, she heard the noise. When she heard the noise, she looked up. And when she looked up, she saw a little kitten about to accidentally possibly fall to its death. And, so I look at it and go, sometimes the plan we have is not the right one. Now, I'm pretty sure that Jodi had a lot of extra work to do in terms of organizing another appointment to get to her pain medication people, but also probably to organize some standby medication while she waited for that appointment. So, you look at it all and you go, sometimes you got to know it's just life. It's not what we planned, but it's just life. I didn't plan to spend an extra hour getting blood tests done yesterday, but I did. By the way, it was amazing to me. I probably had the best blood tester guy that you can imagine. I just cannot believe the difference when you have somebody who's good. And this, the way this guy, I have to have blood taken from my hand because my veins don't cooperate. And you cannot believe, normally it's a pretty, it's a pretty ouchy moment. But, he did it so well. I was stunned and I went, wow, I'm so glad that I changed my plan and actually had this blood test done today so I could get this guy. You see, it all sort of slots into place when you look at it. So I was thinking about the fact that if we can, of the last few weeks, I've been talking about the fact that, when you can see life as one long lesson, life actually is just a long lesson teaching us different things. And if you can see that almost everything that happens to you, and I like to believe maybe everything that happens to you has a purpose, has a reason, that there's, if you are getting constantly messed up because of being late for appointments or something, that there's a reason for that. It's trying to teach you don't be late, or if you are, taking longer to do something than you would normally do, understand there could be a reason for that. That the whole plan needs to be stretched out a bit just so that this can happen without the extra stress. So I look at it, and it's a very important way to look at it, in my view. And I'm certain that everybody has had their experience of maybe you've been a passenger in a car or you've been the driver, and suddenly you get held up because of some idiot driver doing something stupid, or you get caught up in a traffic jam and you're upset because, this is making you late. And yet, 9 times out of 10, if you bother to check the road after that, you'll be surprised how many times there is an accident somewhere that you might have been in had you not been delayed by that extra couple of minutes. So I'm a great believer in have a plan, but please plan to have the plan changed, because life will change the plan. Right. And, Jodi's just saying, every time I see that little kitten, I am so grateful that the van didn't show up on time. Yes, Jodi. And so, although it was, made more inconvenience for you, knowing you the way I do, I'm pretty sure that the inconvenience is an absolute pleasure when you think of it in terms of balancing out the life of that little kitten. So be that aware. The other thing is the whole process that I'm going through of selling my house requires sort of hurry up and do nothing. When I say that, because when you've got a day when you've got to show the house, you've got to hurry up and get everything tidied up and looking the way you want it to, and then you need to leave the house and do nothing, and that is pretty interesting to me. And then when you come back, what I've been surprised about is that it has an effect on my body. I don't know if any of you can imagine that all the getting ready and having my house on show, I find when I come back to my home, there is that sort of, phew, okay, and now you need to wait to find out whether they liked it or not or whatever. But it all has an effect on my body. And so therefore, I now have a plan that after the house is shown, all right, I make sure that I get a bit of a nap in, just to give my body a chance to just calm down and get back. I've been noticing that my heart rate goes up. For example, right now, even though I'm doing a broadcast, which you would think would be stressful for me, my resting heart rate is at 66. I find that when I'm doing a showing, my resting heart rate is quite elevated because I'm rushing around getting things, in the right place and doing things. And so one of the wonderful things about looking at every part of your life is that you see what is happening. I have to say that probably getting my watch was a good plan for me. A good plan because, for those of you who know me, I call it my I'm a slob watch because, quite often it reminds me I'm a slob and I'm not getting enough steps in or not doing enough. But the interesting thing is it does keep you aware. And not only, does it keep me aware, but one of the things that I didn't know was how little sleep I was getting. I thought I was getting, pretty good sleep, but this watch told me I wasn't. And then I was able to change my plan around sleep. And, I'm now really planning to get a minimum of 7 hours sleep a night average. That doesn't always happen, but, because I've got the right information and knowledge is such an important thing that I can do something about it. If I see that my resting heart rate is creeping up and staying up, what do I know? I need to plan some downtime, to just stop for a little while. And before, if I ignore it, I really do believe if I ignore it, then the universe will have it stopped for me in some way. I will get ill or something will happen to me. So to me, it's like plan to look after yourself as best you can. All right, so we're going to do a couple of quotes, but before I do, I want you to remember that story about the little kitten. Sometimes the reason you are delayed is a really good one. And somewhere in the world, there is a person, a little kitten, or something in a different path because you were delayed. Think about that. Just so that we have a recap, last week, for those of you who remember Andrea from Berlin, she got married last week, and we hope that her first week of getting married was a great one. She really had a lot of butterflies about getting married because, she had, lived a pretty full life and she'd had a couple of children and she'd never been married. And it was just like getting married for her was like weird. But I must admit that the pictures that she sent to me were just wonderful. So I'm so happy she looks so happy. Last Saturday was Angela's birthday, for those of you who know Angela, just so that you know that. And Sunday, I think I got that right, was Jodi and Lionel's anniversary. So happy anniversary. And I hope you've had a great week of memories of how happy you've been together. So Yogi Bear, the baseball coach, said, if you don't know where you're going, you'll end up someplace else. So, one of the main things about our life every morning, not the big, don't worry about 5 years from now. I mean, you can have goals for 5 years from now, but really what I'm surprised about is how few people, well, there she is. It was a size, okay, sorry, I beg your pardon, Andrea, I didn't recognize the handle. So that's great. She said, for those of you who know Andrea, she's saying, I had a wonderful wedding and it was an exciting first week of marriage. Yes, it is amazing what a difference a piece of paper makes, right? And my words of advice to you, if I may, Andrea, is, that piece of paper is not a license to stop loving each other. And I say that because I think a lot of people will agree with me that once you get that piece of paper, for some people, they stop trying. They just don't do life the same way. So I am very, very happy. But what I want you to do is keep reminding yourself, what does love look like? And it looks like trying and caring. And the same as you would do for your children. By the way, I literally did a double take, Andre, just so you know. I did a double take when I saw a picture of Vivian. I'm going, that can't be Vivian because I remember her this big. Well, by comparison. And suddenly there is, I literally looked at the photograph and I went, who is that? And then I went, my gosh, that must be Vivian. Isn't she just too gorgeous? So please give her a big hug from me. And Michael's looking very dapper, I thought. He looked really good in those photographs. So congratulations. And you looked amazingly happy. I looked at those photographs and I just had to chuckle and I went, this is like, you see lots of pictures of brides, but you rarely see one where the bride is literally ecstatically happy. And that's what you looked. Yes, Vivian is really a beautiful young lady. And you can tell her that I didn't recognize her. I was just going, who is that? It's Vivian. I thought I'd missed one of the children somewhere. You know what I mean? It was just like, I thought, anyway, it was really weird because for a second there I thought, and by the way, baby Lily was at the wedding. That was wonderful that you were all together. So just bear with me here. My screen just did a moment. And again, Andrea, when you look at it, your expectations, keep them as they were. Keep them exactly as they were. Whatever you were doing up until this day worked really well because oh, I know you gave me your husband's name and I can't remember. I'm sorry. Oh, okay. I will forgive myself for that one. But I really must say that I love to watch people smile, and the two smiles from you two were just very much in unison. You know what I mean? He looked as ecstatic as you were. So best of happiness to you all. And I say you all because that includes the children. Gloria Steinem once said that without leaps of imagination or dreaming, we lose excitement, the excitement of possibilities. Dreaming, after all, is a form of planning. How many of you have sort of literally daydreamed something into reality? I wonder if any of you have ever done that. Have any of you ever sat with a blank piece of paper and tried to draw out what you would like for the rest, for your rest of your life to look like? And I've done it, and I've actually still got those dream pictures that I drew. And you can do it with cutouts from magazines or printouts from a blog or something. But literally to see what it is you would like in your life, and then systematically start working towards it. I think some of you know that at the beginning of each year, I do what they call a mind map. And if you don't know what that is, drop a note in the comments and I will send you a link to where we did a broadcast on that. Yes, now Marie's saying that she's done it, but a lot of things haven't been accomplished yet. Do you know something, Marie? That one of the things I had on my mind map in my 20s was to go to Cancun in Mexico. I didn't actually achieve it until my 50s. But do you understand? The important thing is I wanted to go there. So obviously it wasn't a high priority for me because otherwise I would have made it a high priority, but I didn't. But I still wanted to do it. And so that is one of the interesting things in life, is you will see what's really important to you by the things you actually do. Right, so Marie's saying, that's like my dream. She's saying that since she was 14, she wanted to go to South Korea. And you're hoping to fulfill that next year. That is incredible. I'm really happy for you. Be careful down there. Just like, I just was listening in the news today that apparently the chief negotiator for Kim Jong-un is missing and presumed dead because he apparently, in retribution for messing up the last summit. Now, quite honestly, I don't think he is to blame, but that's my personal opinion. All right, now this is interesting as well. Think about this, Marie. Abraham Lincoln, a very famous quote about planning, and I think it's a good idea to remember this. Abraham Lincoln said, "Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree. I will spend the first 4 sharpening the axe." You see, the planning part, the getting your tools ready is quite honestly the most important part of any goal. The actual doing it will take less time if your planning is correct. I wonder if that makes sense to everybody. So one of the things I've noticed with Jodi, you really spent a lot of time preparing every eventuality when you have to go out. And I think that is such a good metaphor for people. You don't leave a lot to chance, Jodi. The only thing anything you can control, you do. And then, Jodi, then it's out of your hands, right? You've done what you can. And I think that is a very good way to live your life. I'm finding, Jodi, that that's a metaphor for me as well. When I'm getting ready to show my house, I do what I can, right? And I leave the house half an hour before the realtor arrives. I don't want to be near the house. I don't want to disrupt their flow. I want them to be able to walk in, do whatever they want to do with the house, and not that they apparently do, but that they can be perfectly at ease knowing the house will be ready to show when they walk in. And in other words, that's my bit. After that, it's out of my control. I was having a chat to Benji yesterday, and he was talking to me about how was I feeling about the showings, and I said, I'm pretty zen. He said, that's amazing. And I said, well, I'm Zen because it's out of my control. I've done everything that I can. And now it's just a case of finding the right person. And finding the right person is out of my control. It's not something, that I can do. The right person will show up. And it's a matter of how much time will it take. And, people will say to me, well, the market's down and this, that, and the other. And I go, yep, but the right person is still out there. I have no doubt about that. I plan to be wonderfully surprised that the right person is out there and that they will find my house. So I don't really need to worry a great deal. I've had, a couple of interesting lessons already. Somebody that offered me over 100,000 less than my house was worth. A lesson in just some, I think my doctor said it well, there are stupid people in the world. Then, it was like, the person that came to look at it this week, and when they finished looking at it, said, well, they actually wanted 4 bedrooms upstairs, not 3. And that part of me the part of me that isn't perfect said, why didn't they read the information on the house before they came? It's like, if you read the information, it tells you there are only 3 bedrooms upstairs. So, I started to get frustrated. And then, again, I was talking to my doctor about these things because he's recently gone through it as well. And he just said, yeah, stupid people. And I went, this is a lesson in just staying calm amongst it all. Let me see what Marie's saying here. Marie's saying, I had a lot of planning for my summer class. I didn't know what I was getting myself into when I enrolled in the class. Boy, some of us did that with life, Marie. And there weren't any reviews on this teacher. 80 assignments for a 4-week class. Wow. You'd planned on getting a job for the summer, but now it's been taken back seat. Now that you figured out how many assignments you need to do per day. Yep. And stay on top of the class to get everything turned around. That's a typical thing about life, right? Is that sometimes you don't know how much time or how much effort it's going to take. Now, I want you to listen very carefully to this next quote. For those of you who remember President Dwight Eisenhower, he used to be a 5-star general's type, and he said, in preparing for battle, I've always found that plans are useless, but planning is indispensable. Now, do you hear that in that he's saying that plans are useless, but that planning is indispensable? So can you understand what he is saying? It's like Marie's situation, right? When she had this plan in place to take this particular 4-week course, she had no idea that there were going to be 80 assignments in 4 weeks. So how could she plan for it? She just went, oh, I'm going to take this 4-week course for a summer class, and that will, give me time to have a job and do this, that, and the other, and da-da-da. Now she takes the class on and finds out this is like high intensity. And I'm pretty certain, Marie, if you are normal, you probably muttered a bit about why didn't they warn us that there were going to be 80 assignments in a 4-week period? The interesting thing is that they didn't, and that's what you need to just don't ask the why. Just know that it is what it is, and you want this course and you want to pass it. So 80 assignments is doable. Just change your life to make it doable. Very inconvenient, and it's not the way that you planned your summer, but life does this. All right, so Maria is saying, yeah, yes, I have. I've unfortunately been a bit whiny to my mom about it. Well, I think that's human nature. But by the way, Marie, just so that you can help us all learn, has whining helped you at all? Did it shorten the number of assignments? Did it change anything? Whining, just so that we understand. And okay, so Marie's saying, "LOL, the whining did nothing." Yes, it did something. It probably upset your mom. Your mom was probably upset for you because she's a mom. But I think the important thing is for you to understand that venting is a good thing. So it's not there. I think there's a difference between venting and whining. Okay, so let's see whether you guys agree with me, and if so, what is the difference? What is the difference between whining and venting? Listen to the very pragmatic mother. Marie saying her mum said, "You spent the money, so you need to just buckle down and get it done." Yeah, that was her being really kind and loving, right? And when I say that, it probably didn't sound like it at the time, but that is the bottom line. When you take all the emotion out of it and just get down to the facts are you need to get it done. And, I just want to make sure that people understand that there is a difference between whining and venting. And I find venting very healthy. So, anybody got any input? What is the difference? And by the way, for those of you who are watching it on the replay, you might want to just add some comments here so people get some idea of what the difference is for you. Marie is saying, my mom's always been my biggest fan and she knows what I can handle. And she told me, you've done this before and you can do it again. You're a good student and you'll do just fine. As I said, full of love, right? It isn't necessarily what you want to hear about the fact, just buckle down and do it anyway. You spent the money, so don't waste the money. And, but listen to the love that followed it, that you're a good student and you are, and you work hard. I know that. So a lot of people, and from my experience as well, Marie, a lot of these courses, they actually put this big bullet task down for people to do to find out who really wants to do this. Somebody once said to me that, the first year of med school is indirectly designed to get rid of a lot of students, right? They want to know who can handle the pressure because being a doctor is a high pressure environment. It's a pressure cooker all the time. And so therefore, if you can't handle pressure, you are not qualified to be a doctor. So a lot of what they do is in the first year is they put a lot of pressure on everybody to find out who's going to knuckle down and just do the job. And I had, one student that I was helping, and after he got into med school, when normally my job is done, but after he got into med school, he kept writing to me and saying, Sal, I don't think I can handle the pressure. And I'm going, sure you can if you want to be a doctor. I mean, that's all I kept asking him. Do you want to be a doctor? Well, yes. Well, then handle the pressure, because that's what being a doctor is about. But on the other hand, if you really can't handle the pressure, get out now. Because they're going to keep putting the pressure on you to find out if you got what it takes to be a doctor. Make sense? All right, Jodi is saying, when you're venting, you don't expect the people you're venting to solve the problem. It's letting off steam and maybe bouncing ideas off people. Yes, and maybe getting some validation of your thinking or not. All right, so one of the things that I think is really healthy is to be able to vent. So Marie, were you venting or were you whining? You see, I think you whine when you keep complaining about something and do nothing about it. If you had that discussion with your mom and said, it's not fair and da 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 and da da da, they should. The word "should" probably came in there a lot. They should have let us know. They should have done this. They should have, warned us appropriately. Da da da. When you do all of that, did you, after you did that, did you continue to complain about it, or that would be whining? Or did you just have that one session where you let rip on what you were really feeling, your honest feelings, nothing wrong with that, and then get recentered, and now I know what I need to do? Because to me, that's what venting does. If you vent healthily, you will get it all out on the table, and then you will decide, okay, that's emotion, that's emotion, that's emotion, that's emotion. All right, what am I left with? Do I want to do this course? That's the fact. Or do I just want to throw the money away and not do it and enjoy my summer? Quite a simple process, really. All right, let me see what Marie's saying. I was venting now that I think about it. I was just mad that it was a lot of work, but after spending over $400, I wasn't going to withdraw and lose my money. So in the past 2 weeks, I've been super on top of my work and getting everything done. So proud of you. That is venting. If for the last 2 weeks, all you have done is complain about it, right? That would be being whiny, because it'll be holding you up. Can you see the difference, Marie? Healthy to let it go, get it all out. And you had every right to be angry. You had every right to think it wasn't fair. But life isn't fair, right? That's what we know. Life is not fair. So, yeah, should they have warned you? Probably, but they didn't. But, part of this whole process is, good. Marie's saying, I can definitely see the difference. Excellent. So here's the thing, Marie. Next time, understand the process better. Plan to vent, not to whine. Because I don't think you're a whiny person. I have to tell you that. I've known you for quite a while now. I don't think I've ever heard you whine. I've heard you have justifiable issues about things, but you don't go on week after week. Oh, I've got this pain in my shoulder and I don't know what's wrong with it. Week after week after week. That's a whiner. If you say to me, I've got a pain in my shoulder and I booked an appointment to go to the doctor next week, that's like you're telling me a fact. There's a whole difference about that. You've got the issue and you've done something about it. But I did. You can tell I'm about to tell you something, right? But I did a bad thing yesterday, and I didn't plan to, but I did a bad thing yesterday, and it was like really childish, and you can probably tell by my body language, right? After I got back from the doctor and getting the blood tests and everything done, and I knew that I wasn't going to have another blood test like that for another 3 months, I had 5 ice creams. How stupid is that? It was like I had 3 for one meal, and then I had another 2 later on. Now, I want to tell you that well, Jodi's got a little smiley face going here, but Jodi, can you relate to that at all? We're just like, I don't know what got into me. It was like as you will hear, it was like some sort of weird reaction to the doctor's visit. And I needed to do something. And for some reason, it was super frosty ice creams were what I needed to do. And then, of course, oh, that's interesting. Jodi's saying, I'm laughing because it's like me. I do that. yeah, I knew I was shooting myself in the foot, Jodi. And then I was terrified. I knew I needed to take my blood sugar to find out what I'd done to myself. And I had said that I wasn't going to test my blood sugar again until Saturday. But, last night I knew that I needed to do it. Oh, Marie's saying, I have to giggle because I did something similar. I ate the rest of the cake that was left. I shouldn't have done it. It was enough to feed 2 people. Yes. You see, so I just want you to know I'm quite human, Marie. But the interesting thing was that I was so terrified to take my blood sugar reading. So let's see. I know that you know blood sugar really well, Jodi. What sort of spike would you expect after 5 ice creams? And you see, part of what I'm trying to learn, part of my plan in learning about diabetes is what can I do, right? Not only on the good side, but also on the bad side. Because 150, okay. Okay, so Marie knows about blood glucose as well. I'm not sure what that is. Jodi, at least a 9. Oh, I did way better than 9, Jodi. I was up on 12. So can you let me, Jodi, I know somewhere you got something that tells you what that is in your language. So can we let Marie know what that is? Oh, your dad is diabetic. Okay. So Jodi will give us what that is. Let's see if it's 150. Let's see if you are pretty close. I don't know what it is in American. Jodi does a great job of converting the Canadian reading to the American reading. But the interesting thing is that once I did it, I went, oh. And the good news was it only hit orange. In other words, it took me into pre-diabetic. It didn't take me into full-blown diabetic on that one reading. Now, 12 is 216. There you go, Marie. I overachieved your number. All right, so the thing is this, was it an intelligent thing to do? No, that was obviously my kid. My inner child needed, for some reason, to be rewarded for doing what she had done. It was really, it was a really strange feeling when you know that this is not a good thing to do. Oh, so there you go, Jodi. You make me feel so much better. Jodi's saying that her spike went up to 240 after her anniversary dessert. Okay, what did mine go up to? 216. Okay, so you beat me. So did we plan, to have that spike? But you see, Jodi, what you taught me, and I am so grateful for what you have taught me about diabetes. What you've taught me is this is not the end of my world. This does not make me a very bad person. It just means that every now and then, this will happen. I find it really interesting when I was at the doctor, and I talk about this in the vlog that I'm going to put up, but when I was at the doctor and I was showing him, this whole weight thing with all the spikes in it, I was really interested that he stopped and looked at it and literally said to me, Sal, what caused this spike here? You were going down like this and suddenly there was a spike. And I said, I was away that week. I was away and not eating my own food. I was at hotels and somebody else's house and I was not controlling what I eat. And therefore, when I wanted a snack, the snacks I would normally have available weren't there. He went, that makes sense. And I went, what? He said, no, that makes sense. And then he went, and then you went down again, and then it suddenly spiked again. What was this spike? And I said, oh, yeah. That one is a new one, because that one is when I have my house being shown, I have to go to a restaurant. And I'm inclined to stuff my face when I'm at the restaurant. And I'm learning to order different things now. He went, that makes sense. I just went, what? I don't know why I expected my doctor to be angry at me. But he said, the trend is down. The trend is not up. You stop that trend the moment we diagnosed you with diabetes, you'd reverse that trend. And so I find it really interesting that for some reason I didn't expect him to react like that. I expected him to say, well, if you did a bit more exercise, you get this, that, and the other. And he said quite the opposite. He said, Sal, whatever you're doing is working. So keep doing it. And well done. You've done a good job. That you don't get these sort of numbers. Plus, I said to him, I told him the truth, which was, I did get 2 readings that were in the pre-diabetic range. He said 2 since December. I said, yeah, 2 that I know of. In other words, I had a feeling I was over the limit, and I did the test and I was. He said, so you know what it feels like when you've gone over the limit? I said, yeah, I know what it feels like. And he said, so, and you're smart enough to, take the test to make sure that you know how bad it is. Yeah. And so you know what you ate that caused it. Yeah. He said, exactly what you're meant to do. I don't know why. I don't know why I was so confused with that. It was just like, I expected to be harshly judged, and I wasn't. He was very happy when I'm going, oh, okay. But I'm grateful for it, because I don't think I would have been able to do it without the support of you guys, because you guys have done such a great job of helping me. And the other thing I said to my doctor, I want to thank you for your support in this, because you understand that every time that I come back and you tell me I'm doing the right things, I am able to encourage other people through the work that I do on YouTube, that this is possible to do, is to take a reading that is negative. By the way, Jodi, I also asked about the metformin and said, the last time I was here, you said something along the lines of, it's difficult to convince you. It's difficult to convince you to take metformin when your numbers are the way that they are. And I said, I need a bit of definition about that. And he said, in what way? And I said, I want to know, is it difficult to convince me, but I need it? That's what I'm trying to work out. I replayed that conversation in my mind a number of times. And what I didn't get was, is it difficult to convince me, but even though you would find it difficult to convince me, I should be doing it? That's what I'm trying to find out. And he said, no, let me rephrase that for you. And I said, okay. He said, it's difficult to convince me that you should be taking it, because you got the diagnosis, you immediately took action, and your blood sugar levels have been under control ever since, except for the 2 days, the 2 times, which would be life. And I went, right. And he said, so why would I die? Why would I put you on medication you don't need? I go, really? And he said, yes. He said that the whole thing about the metformin is that if you can't control yourself, then that is necessary to keep it under control. You are keeping it under control. Thank you, Jodi and Beth and everybody else. You are keeping it under control. Therefore, you don't need the medication. But you can still be diabetic. That was what confused me. and that you are still diabetic is about when I take the sugar overload thing, glucose tolerance test, I can still show diabetic on that one. So the interesting thing that I found as well, seeing as we're talking about this, was when I was driving back and deciding whether or not I should have that A1C test done immediately, because he told me I was overdue for it. I thought, oh, I haven't planned for this, so therefore I hadn't adjusted my food accordingly. And I'm going, Sal, just go and do the test. Even if you haven't had a stellar week, just go and do the test. It's just a benchmark. It is not the end of the world. It is a benchmark. It is to see how well have you been doing over the course of the last 4 months. Should be 3, but 4 months. And if you've been pretty good over the last 4 months, the fact that you have had a bit of a blip because of the stress, is probably going to show, but it's not going to be critical. I hope I'm right in that one. Okay, let me just see. Yeah, Jodi's saying, yes, you're doing it, Sal. All the info in the world wouldn't help you if you weren't putting into action every day. You've been working at it every single day. Thank you, Jodi. So that's what I'm thinking as well. And that's when I was driving, my little kid, I could hear my little kid saying, no, but you had Scotch mints, imperial mints recently, yesterday, and you've had this, and, you don't go and do this test, you'll fail. And I'm going, it's not about pass and fail. Listen to the conversation I had from my adult. This is not about pass and fail. This is how have you done over the last 4 months? End of story. There is no pass and fail. It's just reality. I couldn't believe I talked to myself like this. I said, no, pick up your big girl pants and go and take the test. Now, without any adjustment, don't wait another week. Just go do it right now. And I actually felt very adult in that. I'd have to say that. I felt, okay, it is what it is. And I'm pretty sure that it will hopefully not be, a huge increase. I can't see that it could be, but maybe it is, in which case I will know before I do another one, prepare for it a week beforehand. Knowledge is everything, right? So, and for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, what happens is when you are diabetic or believed to be, they do a blood test every 3 months. And what it will tell them is how much, I think Beth worded it so well. She said, it's like you've got this storehouse in your body that collects glucose, sugars, right? And when you filled up that storehouse, it says no room at the end, and it sends the rest of the glucose off to go travel with the bloodstream. And I think that's a lovely analogy. Have you filled up your storehouse here? And how much bad stuff is traveling with your bloodstream? So that is what the test does. And you have it done every 3 months, normally, every 3 months, to see whether you are on track over the last 3 or 4 months. So to me, this is like, it's not pass and fail, it's reality. It's a real life check. So it was amazing, the difference in my thinking once I said, hey, this is not about pass and fail. Marie, I'm thinking about the stress about pass and fail. It's not that, it's just reality. I need to know. And by the way, Marie, is it also true that all the stress you put on yourself about pass and fail, this is reality, is do I know enough? It's not about, it wasn't fair because the questions were too hard or whatever. It's just like, this is just a way of finding out, have I done the work? And if I have, I will pass. And if I haven't, I won't. I don't have to stress out. And Marie, I'm wondering whether that thinking will help you at all. right? That this is not about pass and fail for the rest of your life. This is just, have I done enough to understand it enough to be able to get through this? If so, I've done the work. If I haven't done enough, did any of you see the spelling bee that happened yesterday? Because I found that very interesting. They did the annual spelling bee yesterday, and 8 students between 12 and 14, I think, 8 students beat the system. In other words, 8 students spelled every word correctly. How about that? They had to announce that all 8 were winners because there was no clear winner. They all did all of the words correctly. And some words were really difficult. And so, it's amazing. Now, here's what I found really interesting. When I was watching it, you could see that a number of the participants were probably from Indian backgrounds, either, first generation Americans or whatever. But as well as I do, that people are going to look at that and go, that's not fair. We got to stop the Indians coming in because they are winning our events. Da, 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 da. This is like, oh, they work harder. Or I've had this happen. I remember talking once to some people here in British Columbia, and they were saying to me, oh, it's not fair, because all the Asians get the top spots. I said, no, that's not about fair. It's got nothing to do with fair. That means they worked harder. By the way, in their culture, coming to university in British Columbia is a huge, huge family honor. And they need to make sure they get well placed, because otherwise it is seen to be a disservice to the family. They're not here just for them. They're here for their whole family. This is the respect of the family, that they have a child at UBC. And so, it's like, but the people who didn't make it will blame the fact that they didn't make it on the fact that, somebody is Asian or Indian or whatever. And, to me, this is like, that's so sad, isn't it? They can't see that the reason that these people did well is because they worked really hard. Got nothing to do with the color of your skin. Got nothing to do with your ethnic background. It has to do with the fact, how much work did you do? You see, and that's when you take the emotion out of it and you just deal with reality. The reality is they did more work. And I would like to see a competition where you don't get to see, a bit like The Voice. In The Voice, you don't get to see what the person looks like. You just get to hear the voice. It's brilliant. It's clever in that, because you don't make all these prejudgments based on what they look like. And I think it's important. So everything has a past. Everything, a person, an object, a word, everything. If you don't know the past, you can't understand the present and plan properly for the future. And I think that's really interesting that if you've got a past of passing exams, Marie, then, you have every reason to believe you're more than capable. And you just need to plan your life differently over the summer this year. And if it means that you can't take a summer job and that's going to put you into financial hardship for the coming year, the question I would have, Marie, is what can you do, right? What can you do, knowing that you're going to have to work morning, noon, and night to get through that 4-week course? What can you do to make up that deficit, if you like? And, I would start thinking not about what can't you do, about what can you do. And maybe it's time to sell some clothes. Maybe it's time to, mow people's lawns during the summer down your street. You know what I mean? Think of things that you can do that won't take a lot of time, but will get you out and about, get some fresh air, force you to take a break. I always said that if you want to make money, it's actually available down your own street, if you really want to. I'm amazed how many people don't see the opportunities to make money down your own street, literally. I'm coming down the street with my lawnmower next week. Would you like me to add your lawn to it? And by the way, it's a bulk price of $10 a lawn because I'm just going to be rolling down the street. And be amazed how many people will say $10, you bet, I'll take it. Or even 20, some people, depends how big the lawn is. Brian Tracy, who is a personal success motivational type speaker, said, all successful people, men and women, are big dreamers. They imagine what their future could be, ideal in every respect, and then they work every day towards that distant vision, that goal or purpose. Now, it's really interesting to me because I know this is going to sound really strange. I have always had it in my goal plan since my early 20s to help people. I've not always known what it was going to look like, but I always said that's what I would love to be able to do, is to help people. I've tried many, many times, all right, to get away from helping people and ended up back helping people. It's just like, I know that's what my goal is. And it's not like I have to do something differently. I just have to be who I am and talk about what I believe. And it will help people. That's what I've discovered. Really important to know that. I don't have to, go, okay, fine, well, I need to do 10 years of university or and higher education at this level and have 65 degrees. No, I can just literally show up and help people. And so I look at it and go, planning is sometimes just the way you live your life. When you live your life with purpose, when you live your life with, this is what I do, then you will find your life is a lot more in keeping with your soul. It's like, it's a really important thing to understand. How we do life every day is really who we are. And for some of you, you will notice that when you go out, how much makeup do you put on, or how differently do you dress, or whatever it is, to go out into the public. And, to me, it's a really interesting thing that I found about retirement, is I'm a lot more comfortable today going out with very little makeup. I might put a little bit of lipstick on and a little bit of mascara. And if it's a really hot day, I might put some powder on to minimize the heat. But other than that, I really find that there are days that I've gone out without any makeup at all and felt perfectly fine. And realizing that who I am is okay, who I am as a person, who I am, as a face is okay. And that is an interesting change. And when I planned to retire, I didn't have that as part of my retirement plan, quite honestly, that I would feel that relaxed and that normal and that okay to just be who I am. I had this weekend all planned out, and then suddenly I got a call. or in fact, I got an email because I've asked for those things to be emailed. I got an email saying that they want to do a showing on Sunday. And of course, Sunday is difficult for me because, as you all know, I do a broadcast on Sunday and I cook Sunday dinner. And so, the first hit, and I want you to understand this, the first hit, like Marie, is Sunday. Oh, and then they also want to show Yvonne's suite, which is inconvenient. So, it's just like, wait a minute. It is what it is. First of all, let's see if Yvonne can do it, if Yvonne's in a space where she can do it. So I wrote to Yvonne and said, hey, they need to see the suite because the suite is important to them. They would need the suite. In other words, if they buy the house, they would be giving you notice. So that, that's horrible to say to anybody, but it's the reality. So what I did was I made sure that Yvonne was okay with it first. And then I go, let me work out what time I could do it and still be able to do the broadcast. You see, Marie, like you, everything else changes around that plan. All right. Although the plan is inconvenient, I can make it work for me if I really want to change my timing. And so what I did was I arranged a showing at 2:00, which means that they would be finished hopefully by 2:30, which means I'd still have enough time to get everything set up, ready to do a 3:30 broadcast. Can you guys see that's a plan? Right? Now, part of me said, what if they said there's a possibility it would be 2 showings. Well, 2 showings, that could take longer. So if this is my thinking. So if it even went till 3, you and I know that if I really pushed it, I could still be broadcasting by 3:30. Or I could say to you guys, we're doing the 3:30 broadcast at 4, and you guys would understand that. But I'm pretty sure that it's doable. I just, have everything set up in such a way that I can do it in a hurry. So you see, there is a plan. It is doable. I just have to change my thinking. Like Marie, right? So it isn't what I thought I was getting, but it is doable. I just need to change everything around it. All right. And John F. Kennedy said, I thought this was interesting. John F. Kennedy said, the time to repair the roof is when the sun is shining. It's so true, isn't it? So how many of you can think about something in your life that needs to be repaired? But it hasn't actually broken yet, but it needs to be repaired. I'd give it a bit of thought. The reason is because it's much easier to repair it now when the sun's shining than it's going to be in the middle of winter. Mind you, if you're listening in the southern hemisphere, best of luck, because you're already in winter or about to be. So, this is like, sometimes our plan is proactive. All right, I don't want to have a problem with this, so I will fix it beforehand. And I would really recommend that, the stitch in time saves 9 philosophy really works. All right, so when you do things in the present that you can see, you are shaping the future that you are not yet able to see. I really, I don't know if any of you do this, but I have a list of major blocks, if you like. I always remember reading 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And one of the things that they said in that 7 Habits of Highly Effective People was a very simple concept. And that was this, that if you have a glass like this, if you have a glass and you fill it full of rocks like this, is it full? And, what they said was actually, no, it's not full yet because you can still put gravel in there, right? You can put gravel in there like this, okay? Is it full? No, because you can still put sand in there. And now it's full. So like Marie, every day of your life, if you've got the right stones in to start with, all right, you can do it. For example, Marie's new summer plan has to have some pretty big rocks in it, and those rocks are that coarse. She's only got 4 weeks to do it, so she knows that that has to be her big rock to some degree. But if she does nothing else but that, she's going to be out of balance in her life. So, Marie, really good idea to change the look of your glass, if I can put it that way, and just say, okay, fine. I've got so many hours a day, and I'm going to donate, I'm going to allocate this many hours just to doing the course. But in here, I still have my health, my family and friends, your spirit, be that your faith or whatever, and your financial. I'd look at those other parts of your life. They also need to be in that 4-week period. And if you plan it correctly, Marie, all is possible. All right. You just need to know that this has to be a very dedicated. You start with these really big rocks that are called the course, but you need to make sure that you fit in. The best way to do that is to, and I love this expression, is to have tickets. And I heard that once on a course that I was on, where they said, we all are so busy, but in order to get anything else done, you need to have tickets. And I'm going, what on earth are you talking about, have tickets? And what they said is this: think about the most, the one person in your world you would love to meet, be it somebody past or future, or somebody who's alive or dead or whatever. Who would you really like to meet? Who would you'd like to spend a couple of hours with if you could have the chance? And we've all got somebody, all right, that we would like to talk to. And so they said, well, what if you had tickets to meet them at 2:00 today? Regardless of what you got planned for today, if you had tickets given to you right now to meet the person you've always wanted to meet at 2:00 today or tomorrow, seeing as we're after. Oh no, we're not. But still, 2:00's on the way. All right. Would you make a plan? This is your one chance in your life to meet this person at 2:00. And I would like to say, in a lot of cases, we would say, I'd make a plan. I'd move something around so that I could do that. And so this was the principle that they said, if things are really important for you, you will have tickets for it. You will make that time. The stuff that we put aside are the things that we don't seem to think are very important. And you can tell what they are in your life because you don't make time for them. It may be, how many of you, I've found that when I talk to people, those people who are constantly under financial drama, when you talk to them, I'll say to them, how much time do you spend working on your finances every month? What? Well, how much time do you spend, checking your bank balance and making sure you put money aside or whatever? How much time do you spend doing it? Not very much, no. Well, that's why you have a lot of problems with it. Because you don't give it time. Now, most people don't want to hear that reality, right? one of the things that always amazed me in life is that, have you noticed how banks really are not there for you when you need them? They're only there for you when you don't need them. And that's what I said. It was amazing when I really needed to have help from the bank. They weren't there for me. But now that I have created my own wealth, if you like, suddenly they're very nice to me. They're working to do all sorts of things to help me. Why? Because I've got money in their view. So, not a lot, and as far as they're concerned, I've got stuff that can make them money, so they want to keep me happy. So it's really interesting when you look at your life and you go, have a look at what's not working for you, and say, how much time am I giving this? And I know we're all really, really busy. Jodi, one of the nice things I like that you came up with, and I don't know whether you did it intentionally, but I want to thank you for it because I've started doing it as well, is that on Monday mornings, I go, what telephone calls do I need to make? Well, I say Monday morning, I don't do mornings, but the words, after I've got dressed on a Monday, the first thing I ask myself is, what telephone calls do I need to make? And the reason for that is because it's sort of like a time slot. I start the day with the telephone calls. Thank you, Jodi. Because, I've heard you do it, and which is you start your day with the telephone calls that need to be made. And I think it's very, very clever. Now, we know that I start my day with my first 2 cups of coffee, but after that, once the brain cells, are moving around, that's what I think about now. And the other thing I think about is, what have I been procrastinating about the most? Part of my plan every day. What have I been procrastinating about the most? And the interesting thing is, the chances are it will be somewhere in here, right? It'll be one of these things that I haven't crossed off. So apparently shredding is not my idea of fun. Shredding paper. It's not my idea of fun. Why? It's still on my list, right, for this week. And it's pretty easy to tell. And so if you keep aware of everything, it's a really important thing. By the way, at the beginning of each week, I go back to this page, and this page tells me what my goals are for this month. Now, what I do is I just every week, as I turn the week page over, I go back and look at this one and go, okay, what haven't I done here? And apparently I am delaying taping off and painting a skirting board in my bedroom. Why? Doesn't sound like fun to me for some reason. And apparently I'm behind on looking at my accounts this month. So, it's like you can tell. If you keep aware, you can tell. Just keep track if you can. And it doesn't have to be, what I found? I wonder if anybody else has found this. I found that if I try and do it digitally, it overwhelms me. It actually is easier to do on paper. And do you know why? Because you've only got so many slots. And that is the interesting thing to me. When I do it digitally, I will fill up twice as much as this. And every single time management thing I've tried to use that is digital, I've had to go back to using paper. So that is an interesting reality. And by the way, you could do it with just 4 bits of, Post-it note. Do I have Post-it notes with me? 4 or 6 Post-it notes. The 4 or 6 main things in your life at the moment. And literally just move them over week by week as you cross off the next step, the next step, the next step. You'd be amazed how quickly you will do that. Yeah, Jodi's saying she also writes everything into a paper planner as well. Yvonne does as well. Yvonne's got so many balls in the air right now, it's amazing, but she does as well. So there's something about having it down on paper that actually works better. Now, the big scheme stuff, the mind mapping and everything else, I can do it digitally. It's fine because I can be have as many things on there as I want. But when it's actually about what am I doing this week, I need it on paper. Okay. So always have a plan. You see, you remember what Eisenhower said about plans don't work, but always plan. Always have a plan because why? Let's think about that. Why is it important to have a plan? I think the reason it's important to have a plan is it means you've thought it through. You are not dealing from a reaction. You're dealing, I've thought this thing through. Jodi, you always make me laugh because you say a lot about the fact that, I've thought through all the angles. I really do literally go every week, Jodi, and you're correct in that, but I will look at, what was it, this thing about, the skirting board. Why haven't I done that? I'll ask myself that every week. Why haven't I done that yet? Well, it means I got to move some furniture to get behind there. That's not much fun. And then the logic says, well, you don't have to move the furniture. You could just paint the bits that people can see. And then when you sell the house, then you can paint the bits that were behind the furniture. It's funny, but I'm going, I don't really want to do that. So, I just need to stop worrying about what I want to do and maybe just do that. Maybe just paint the bits that I can see, knowing that when I move it, I'm going to have to, paint it or not. Yeah, it's possible that I don't paint it. I need to add something to my list because I realize what is happening. Let me just put it in right now. Is that I've got a lot of grass now growing in my driveway, and I've got to find a grass weed killer that I can spray because it's really it's not doing well. I've got weeds and grass growing in gravel driveway. So, I don't want to do that. And I'm going, I believe the vinegar works, so let me try vinegar and see if it does. It's just like, I need to make the time to go do it. So plans are important. And if I don't plan to make that a priority, it won't happen, right? I'll keep pushing it back and back and back. That's human nature. See, even Winston Churchill said this. Isn't it interesting? Plans are of little importance, but planning is essential, right? Because what planning does is it makes you think about stuff. It'll make a lovely driveway salad. Really? So anybody know an environmental way to kill grass? Let me know. I believe that vinegar is one way. I'll have to find out what else. I've also noticed that where they put all the bark mulch on top of my garden, right, the weeds are beginning to make their way through there. But, the interesting thing is if I go out every day and just spend 10 minutes, I can keep it under control. If I miss a day, it gets out of control. And that's what gardening is about, right? The way you get a beautiful garden is to go out there and do something with it for 10 minutes a day. So I ask you all to have a little think about this. And the think is, what is it you want to create in your life? Jodi, my greatest memory of when you and I first met, and correct me if I'm wrong on this one, was that one of your goals or your goal at the time was to get to the beach. Am I correct in that? I don't know why that sticks in my mind. Yes, that is true. How many times have you been since we had that initial conversation? And the reason I'm going to ask you is because you're in a much healthier mindset now than you were when I first met you. And I know you're not expecting. All right, you've been twice already to the beach. Well done. How many times have you been this year? And okay. Now, you see, that's what I thought she was going to answer, 0. So here's the thing. I know Jodi pretty well, right? So Jodi, how many times has the little fluff ball Taily been to the beach in its lifetime? Once. And how much fun did Taily have going to the beach? And now the reason I'm talking about the dog rather than Jodi is I know that Jodi will do almost anything for that dog. You know what I mean? Things that she wouldn't do for herself, she will do for Taily, the dog. So to me, this is like, she's probably smiling right now because she knows that to be true. And so he was so happy. Yeah, I'm not surprised. By the way, and so were you. But you didn't go because obviously he went to the beach with Lionel. If you haven't been and he has, that means that you didn't go and watch him. How much would you like to see Taily playing on the beach? On a scale of 1 to 10. How much joy will that give you to watch that little fluff ball enjoying the beach? And you see, I want you to get that vision in your mind. I want you to see it. 10 out of 10. Yeah, exactly. So, you know what my next suggestion is? And only you can decide whether it's important. Only you can decide, is this important enough to me that I'm going to arrange this? I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to find somebody, that will help make this happen. I wanted to ask you, Jodi, in Vancouver, by the way, we are very wheelchair accessible as a city because we had a mayor, as you will probably remember when we got the Olympics, the Winter Olympics. We, at the time we got awarded the Winter Olympics, we actually had a mayor that was in a wheelchair. And I can assure you that the accessibility for wheelchairs changed dramatically during his time of being mayor of Vancouver. And, it changed the city completely. All our, transport is wheelchair accessible. If all the buses, I think not all the buses, but a large proportion of the buses, can bring a wheelchair on board and so forth, has a special lift thing. And so, Jodi, Yes, you're planning to rent a van. Awesome. I am going to keep asking you about the plan to the beach, Jodi, because I'm going to be a friend and make sure that you keep working on this one, because I know it not only will be great fun for the fluff ball, but it'll do you the world of good as well to get out there and enjoy even 10 minutes of watching that puppy play in the Zen. So it is a really important part to realize that summers come and go quite quickly. And you will have lots of excuses. You might even say, oh, I don't want to go in the summer, it'll be too hot. And we don't know that there's going to be a fall, right? We don't know if Taylor will still be alive in the fall, or you will, or I will, or whatever. You understand? It's like plan it without excuses. That's what I would recommend. Don't have the excuses. Every time you hear yourself, give yourself another excuse. Turn that switch off. Go, I know I've got lots of excuses why we can't do this, but I want to do it anyway. Turn that switch off, and move on. And you will find it's amazing how quickly you can get it planned and how quickly you can get it done. No excuses, yes. And if you really want to do the exercise, Jodi, it might almost be interesting to keep track of all the different excuses and just literally go, well, I've used that one already. And start marking off how many excuses you give so that you don't do what you want to do so badly. All right? Because it's a waste of money, or because it takes too much planning, or because The same reason as I would venture, you haven't done a lot of your creative work as well. All right? We keep, and the reason I know is because I do the same things. So I'm going to get the skirting board, the baseboard painted, Jodi, without excuses. How's that? I'll make that a plan for this week. And then I'm going to be checking on you to see how you're doing with getting to the beach. And I think that is called a buddy system. And that is something that I think we all need to look at. How many of you have noticed that when you're doing it with a buddy, it's somehow different? You do for your friends in a way that you wouldn't do for yourselves. I say that because one of the things that I have noticed is that all the stuff that I've been doing with the diabetes side, to me, it's like, it's not just for me. It's like, I asked myself at the beginning, can I show that this is possible without going on a strict diet? And that what I wanted to do was to take step by step and make lifestyle changes. All right. And what I'm amazed at is, yes, you can do it and make lifestyle changes. Now, I also know that I bought a brand new box of those ice creams. And I know that if I really want to look after my health this week, I will take most of them and put them into my downstairs freezer so that I can still have them if I really want them, but I have to go out of my way to find them. You know what I mean? I can't just walk into my kitchen and quickly grab one. I've got to be prepared to go all the way downstairs, maybe, disturb Yvonne because she can hear me when I come downstairs, and open up that downstairs freezer. How many of you can see that is a good plan? That is a good plan to control how many of those ice creams I eat this week. I will leave one a day. I will leave 7 upstairs. And Jodi, right? This is called, I've got a choice. I can eat 7 or I can have 1 a day. It's up to me. So today is Friday, and I'm going to say that my new plan at keeping control of me is to bring up 7 on a Friday. That'll be my treat. Now, you and I both know that I can go down and get another 7 tomorrow. But will it be helping me? Or is that just my little kid wanting to get instant gratification? So I look at it and go, everything is possible if we make a plan. And the plan can be to help me, right? The plan can be to help me, even though it works against what my inner kid wants, which is ice cream all the time. This is called, okay, you can have ice cream. Yes, one a day is perfect. That's what I found out. I was perfectly within my range when I had one a day. And I just got a little stressed and then wanted more bad stuff. Now, the other thing that I plan now is I plan to buy a lot more vegetables than I normally do, used to. That definitely, I can tell you that is definite. I now must admit that my new treat, and I really do enjoy it, is to cut up my vegetables, mix them all in some olive oil with some soy sauce or lime juice or whatever, and then grill them on the barbecue. I have a barbecue mat that I put down and I just grill them on the barbecue. And I keep trying to grill enough for a couple of days, but I nearly always end up eating all the vegetables that I cut up every day. And that can't be altogether bad. What I've noticed is because I'm doing that, I don't crave potatoes as much because I've got plenty of food that I'm eating, but it's not potato, it's vegetable. And because it's coated in olive oil, I think it's good. I don't know. Jodi, you would probably know this better than I. Am I correct that olive oil is not altogether bad for you? If you've got to have a dressing on your salad, that to have oil and vinegar is definitely the way to go rather than a cream one. So I look at it and go, I know I need to put some, to me, this is the way I get oil into my diet, is to actually put it on my vegetables when I barbecue. Olive oil is great. Yes, that's what I had a feeling. And so to me, it's like the way I make sure I get some olive oil into my diet is I plan it. So is avocado oil. The other one is, what about sesame seed oil? I had that on my vegetables yesterday. So, to me, this is like I plan to add that to my diet. By the way, if you want to add more flaxseed to your diet, sprinkle it over your vegetables, right? Sprinkle it over your salad, right? So, to me, it's like there are ways of doing this. You can plan to improve your diet. Jodi, I know that you are busy let me try and work out how this works. You're busy on some sort of fasting thing. Is that 2 days a week that you fast? Just give me the basics of it so I can share it with the viewers, because it's really interesting what you decided to have a look at and do. And I know when I first heard that you were doing it, I'm going, I couldn't do that. But what I've also noticed, Jodi, is I am working towards it being a possible. And the way that I'm working towards it being a possible, I am going, how long can I continue to put fluids in my body rather than eat when I wake up in the morning? Right? So instead of immediately going for breakfast, can I continue to just take fluids for a while? You fast for 16 hours a day, every day. Wow. Think about that, people. She fasts for 16 hours a day. So that means, and then 2 days of the week, you eat only 900 calories. And your doctor says that is healthy. just want to make sure that you've got this cleared with the doctor. You see, it is possible to do. Yes, the doctor says it's okay. All right, let's think about the 16 hours a day of fasting. Now, for most of us, I presume most people sleep 7 to 8 hours a day. So that's 7 or 8 hours a day that, are covered because you're not sleep eating, right? So that means another 4 hours in the morning and another 4 hours, or an extra 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the afternoon, 2 hours in the evening, would make 6. So 3 hours in the morning. Yeah. So what you do, what time, how many hours after you waking up do you spend not eating? Let me put it this way. So for 16 hours a day, you do nothing but drink water. I want to make sure. You start eating at 4 p.m. Wow. But to be fair, Jodi, what time do you normally wake up? Because I know that we got to be fair on that one. My sense is, my guess on this one, Jodi, is that probably once you get into the routine of doing that, you actually teach your body not to be hungry until 4. All right, so you wake up about 10 or 11. All right, and I want to make sure everybody understands that. And therefore, you have 5 to 6 hours after you wake up is the first time you eat. And Jodi is saying now that she's into that routine, she is barely feels any hunger. Yeah, I can imagine that if you get your body into that routine. So that's regardless of what time you wake up, people, what Jodi is saying is is it just straight water, or do you have, can you have tasty water? You know what I mean? Can you add an additive to it? What is it you are consuming in the way of liquids? Can you have tea, green tea? I think it's really important because it's a plan. It's a plan to teach your body differently. I don't know why. I feel like my body is beginning to change shape, even though I haven't lost a whole lot of weight per se. I've lost weight, don't get me wrong, but it feels like my body is changing shape in some way. All right, so Jodi's saying she has 1 coffee, water, seltzer, green and black tea. Okay, so sparkling water, however you drink that, and is that a flavored one or is that just plain carbonized water? Yeah, I feel that my body is changing. I have to say that. And not that I planned it, but I can feel that somehow, even the top part of my body, I think, is changing in some way, which maybe means that I'm sort of, like kids have a growth spurt. Maybe I'm ready for a drop. So I'm going to see what I can do. Salsa can be flavored as long as no sugar. All right. And what about the sugar alcohol thing, or alcohol sugars, whatever it's called? You know what I'm saying? In other words, can you put a sweetener in there? Hi, Isabel. Yeah, Isabel, we've been talking about planning, and it's been actually we've covered the universe doing that as usual. And actually, I think, Isabel, it may help you. So I'm glad that you're going to listen to the replay, because it really, we've touched on a number of different subjects and talked about studying, we've talked about health, we've talked about all sorts of different little areas. Okay, so to sweeten the water with a little bit of sugar alcohol in reasonable amounts. No, I'm talking about, just a small amount. I found it changed my life when I learned to just sprinkle stevia over my coffee. I put latte on top, foam, and then I just sprinkle some stevia on top. I don't actually mix it in. And I find that as I drink it, it's always that nice sweet taste is the first thing I get, if that makes any sense. Just from a sprinkle. Now, if I make a regular coffee, it'll just drop into the coffee. But because I have foam on top, it stays on top. Works really well for me. I've been doing that for a couple of years now. I also have found, I didn't think I would ever do this, but I have also found that I use stevia now for everything in my day-to-day. I will have it on my crepes. I will, in other words, I've managed to get rid of using sugar. I use sugar if I'm baking sometimes and if I have guests, but that's all. All right, so all things are possible to do if you plan it. So, Jodi, we are going to keep track of you getting to the beach. Isabel, is there anything that you would like to do that you've been putting off that we can support you in? And the other thing that I wanted to say is that, Jodi, can you make a note that we support Marie with her goal over the summer? Let's try and get some more information from her. Maybe we can do that through our fitness group and just get some more information as to when that 1 month is that we can help support her, so to keep in balance during that time. That it would be the goal that I have. So, Isabel, it's great to see you here. Is there anything you want to share before I close the broadcast? Living with a keeper. Could you explain that to me a little bit? I don't know why I have a vision of a jail keeper, a warden. So, can you give me a few more words so I really understand that properly? Downsizing is something I absolutely adore. When I say I adore, I really do feel that I've got some knowledge on this now. So, Isabel, what is it that you want to downsize? Oh, living with a keeper, a hoarder. Okay, got it. So, all right, so you are living with a hoarder. And is that hoarder the man in your life or woman in your life, if you know what I mean? Or is this a family member? I actually have the answer for you, as long as I can get the right information. The reason I have an answer is because I've seen it happen. All right, it is a keeper. Yeah, it is the boyfriend. All right, so here's the thing. Here is the thing. Give him a room. Have you got, do you have a room that you can give him for his collection? In other words, is there a second bedroom? If not, I would buy a wall unit or something and go, whatever you can fit into this wall unit or this, I would buy an armoire. Whatever you can fit into this armoire, feel free. And if he says, but I want to look at them, you go, okay, fine. But it's a bit like ornaments, let's have this shelf where you can display this month's collection, whatever you want to display. And if you want to change it out every month or every week, that is up to you. But this is your shelf for you to put whatever you want. You see, limit. You remember what Linda said about the 10-minute ranting and raving? All right. This is like have a place but make the boundary. It can't be the whole of your apartment. And by the way, has he got all the jerseys and everything? Because again, maybe you don't want them in the living room. Maybe you need to be flexible and allow a couple of them in the bedroom, but you don't want them in the living room. Or you don't mind them in the living room. All right. You don't want them in the living room. You're prepared to have them in the living room, but no in the bedroom. So I think what you need to do, Isabel, for your own peace of mind, is to be able to come to a win-win. Can we agree no trading cards, jerseys, collectibles, in the bedroom? And by the way, make sure you don't have any in there either. Yeah, and he put the money into the collectibles rather than the house. Yeah, I totally, something? That tells you everything you need to know. All right, Isabel, seriously? That tells you everything you need to know. Who owns the house, or is it rented? All right, so Isabel, what you have, because of the flood and everything else, he owns it, and you've lived there for more than 10 years. His house. All right? Not your house, his house. So what I would do is ask if you can negotiate a collection-free room. And I would probably pick the bedroom. But it's not going to change, right? He's always going to be somebody that likes all that sort of stuff. And to see if, because of the fact that you've had to move so many things around because of the flood, whether we can halve the amount that's out on show, because it's beginning to feel claustrophobic for you. I think you've got to get honest about this and just say, hey, can we change the collection around sort of every season rather than have it all out at the same time? A bit like we do our clothes. We've got summer clothes, we've got clothes for the fall, clothes for the winter, but we don't have to keep them all in the closet at the same time. So try and find some logic that will make sense to him and say, hey, just because until we've got the house fixed again, can we put at least half of it away? And maybe every season we and help him do it. And if he comes back with it's my house, I'll do what I like, then understand that's not going to change. Except my attitude is I'd keep asking, every couple of months, any way that we can do this. And I think you've got to get really honest with yourself as well, Isabel. You've lived there for 10 years like that. So what needs to adjust? Have you been putting up with it without talking about it for 10 years? It would be my question. You don't have to answer that, but, you've got to have a serious look at what you've been doing. Whether you've said it's okay when really it wasn't. And, if so, then we need to talk a little bit about that. Because, I've been there. I've done that. Yeah, I'll say whatever you want me to say as long as you like me. I wouldn't do it again in my lifetime. This is like, really, I got to tell you it. And I used to fall into that trap like you cannot believe. I I am embarrassed to tell you that, but it's true. So all is doable. Baby steps, right? Try seeing if you can clear one shelf at a month, or one, or even, imagine that. What is the part that looks most cluttered, and see if you can do that. Yes, it's because it's growing. All right, that's good, Isabel. I'm glad it helps. Sorry. So literally, don't go into overwhelm. Don't go, the place is a mess. I hate your stuff. Da da da. That's not where you want to come from. This one, you're going, George, whatever his name is, George. I wonder if I could ask a really big favor. Is there any way I could clear up this shelf this month, and just, maybe we could put some of these things away until we've got all the house back to normal, because it's getting a little overwhelming now. So, obviously, and if you can, try and find one room that you can keep clear of the collectibles, because you're a girl, and I think, it's like, can we just have one room? Like the bedroom, for example. And, really go out of your way to help him, clear, like even in the living room, try and put the stuff behind you. If you're sitting facing stuff, try and put it behind you so you're not so aware of it. And, the other thing is, you can come from a place of helping him reorganize it so it looks even better. You could probably fit the whole lot onto one really well-organized wall. Think about that one. Or, have, display boxes, but there are other bits underneath it that are in drawers. You've got the prize ones of the month that he wants to display, but the rest of them are still there. So I would look at it as a challenge of reorganization. Don't go at it from a place of, I hate your stuff. It's like, hey, this stuff deserves to be displayed properly. Okay, so you understand that yeah. So you understand, Isabel, that he doesn't want to do the fixing. All right. That's obviously, he's procrastinating about it because he doesn't want to do it. The question is, does he not want to do it because of the money, or does he not want to do it because it's too much like hard work? In which case, can you bring in a friend to help him? Or, I would keep talking options. What options do we have? And if he says, well, I don't have enough money, you're going, well, we need to budget for it then, right? We need to start putting the money aside so that we do have enough money. So, shall we start a separate banking account for it? I would really help him realize it needs to get done. Yeah, Jodi's saying, I did that, I hate your stuff, and I'm surprised I'm still married. Yes. This is so true, right? I literally fell into that. I married a less is more person. All right. And the funny thing is, if I look at my life now, less is more. I realize now that I had way too much stuff out. But I literally, Isabel, remember, I did it one drawer at a time, one countertop at a time, one something at a time, every time, right? That is how I've cleared the whole of my house. So that's what I would do. I would start working towards, let's have a look at this bookcase and let's see how we can tidy it up this month, right? Let's take one shelf a week and let's tidy it up. And you'll be amazed how different the house looks, and think about creative ways of putting stuff, keep your Kleenex boxes because they make very nice containers. You can paint them or cover them with, papers or whatever. But, start thinking about cheap ways to keep these things contained. Does that make sense? Did you see what I did with my Kleenex boxes? Isabel? I, in fact, started a whole organizational system, all right? An organizational system just using used cereal boxes, used, empty cereal boxes, empty containers, empty whatever. Did you see that? Because I'm prepared to disconnect my computer and go show you. You saw the nice boxes. I literally took one can of paint, all right? I have one can of paint, and all I do is I paint the end that you're looking at, and I just print out a label. So this is called, if he's got a really nice collection, go, okay, let's put the really nice collection here, but you get lost at how good it is because there's too much. So how about we put some into a box and we just display the best ones for this month or this season? I would change it over every season is what I would do. But then we just put the rest of them into a box, but paint the box, make it look good, color coordinate with your room. I would, I think you could have quite good fun doing that. And by the way, not all the walls have to be the hockey jerseys. I've got hockey jerseys in my closet. All right. I've got Olympic hockey jerseys in my closet. I know I'm going to probably have them with me till the day I die. I don't have them on my walls. But if you are going to have a hockey jersey on your wall, make sure it's properly framed. Yes, decluttering by a third. I actually decluttered. I decluttered by a half. That's how I changed my house. All right, so this is the thing, Nyasha. You will learn eventually to tidy it up. Make before and after pictures. I want to tell you something. I can clutter up my house between the showings, but I actually clutter in a different way. Why don't you do that? Why don't you, literally decide on, okay, this bookcase, I could do this in the next, month. But you're going to need his help, all right? Because he's going to need to go to the win-win of actually putting some of that stuff away. And just say to him, okay, we're doing an organizational thing now. Let's see if we can do it. The goal is we take this one shelf and we only put back half. So we take everything off the shelf. I will clean it, right? Do your more than your fair share. I will clean it. And then we only get to put half of it back. Now, the chances are he'll want to put the rest on the lower shelves. But, by the time he gets to the second shelf, he's going to realize that this is getting, something has to give now. And you just go, we only put half back. And that's how you do it, is to take everything off one shelf, clean it all, and then only put half back. And well, what do you do with the rest of it? Well, we either put it away, ready for the next time we do this, or we give it away. Now, obviously, these are collectibles, so we don't want to give it away. We want to store it. So let's think of a nice, clever way to store all of this. And you'd be amazed. You can do this. And Isabel, it can not only clean up your space, it will clean up your life. Jodi will tell you there is magic in cubies. I would literally, you'll be amazed how many of those things will fit into a cubie. It becomes so addicting once you see the progress. Yes. I don't know if you know it, Isabel, but Lauren did it recently with all her scrapbooking stuff. And you know what? The before picture was amazing. And then the after picture was just like, wow, that was incredible. The problem is we don't do it often enough. Right. You feel a bit overwhelmed because you're seeing the total picture. I don't want you to go with the total picture at all. Have you got one shelf that you can see that you could start with. Just one shelf, that's all. And what I want you to do is to get the joy of doing one shelf. And I would go somewhere where I know there is a good supply of cubies and treat yourself to one cubie a month. That's how I did mine, Isabel. I didn't buy them all at one time. I literally found out that my local Safeway, had these cubies with their Safeway logo on them. Have you seen them? Let me just get them. Isabel, you're in Montreal, right? Do you have a Safeway in Montreal? Okay, that's right. You travel. All right. So, have you seen the site Wish, Isabel? You can buy those cubies 6 at a time, I think, from Wish at a very, very good price. Or I would start, finding other boxes. I would go to your the supermarket. Yeah, hang on a second. Okay, I bought all mine at Safeway, right? They just don't show the logo. Okay, I have the cubies like this, right? And if I have to show this side, I will just paint that off. But here's the thing. It's like you'll be amazed how much will fit into one of these. So if you can't get near one, what I would find out is, and you look at all the, how much you can fit into a cereal box, or, just paint the cereal box, make it look pretty, and put it in, or hang on a second. It's amazing what a bit of paint will do. This is a milk carton that I keep all my, extra straws, my chopsticks, wooden chopsticks. Yeah, they all stay in here. All right, and I just cut it so it would fit in the shelf. But it's just a milk carton that I painted. All right, so Nyasha, I've got to go because I'm already over time. The Marie Kondo, Nyasha, Marie Kondo is a Japanese lady that teaches you how to downsize and tidy up your life. The truth is that basically we keep around us far too much stuff, right? And the reason we can't keep it tidy is we've got too much of it. So the trick is to start teaching yourself, and you can watch her videos on YouTube. They've got lots of her videos. But the trick is start practicing just cleaning things up a bit. Just say to yourself, this week, I just want to take everything out of this drawer and only put half of it back. And I want to tell you, and the half I put back, I'm going to try and make it neat and tidy and easy to control. You're looking for that everything has a place, and there is a place for everything. And it's not the floor, and it's not on your bed, all right? That there is a place for everything within your living space. And that really about half of what you own, you don't need. That's the truth. I've got to go. So people, I plan to improve. That's all. Jodi, I am so glad that the van didn't arrive and you got to save a kitten. I am so happy about that. And I am so happy that I had 5 ice creams yesterday, but I won't be doing it again because I now know what it does to me. But I did sleep well. So everybody, this is a big hug. Life is what it is. I'm going to see you. You know something, Isabel? It is my pleasure to give you a little bit of time. I have to say that. I very rarely have time to speak with you. But here is the thing. Are you going to do something about it, Isabel? I don't know if when you listen to the replay, listen to the conversation I had with Marie about the difference between venting and whining. All right? Because what you did is you had a vent, and that's great. If you keep talking about it and don't do anything about it, do you understand? That's whining. What I'm saying to you is start the process and make it so small that he doesn't even notice half the time. Yeah. All right, everybody. So have a great afternoon, and I'll see you this evening. This is DearMamaSal saying bye-bye for now.